Hello, my name's Nick, and I'm back to open a few more board games. I'm trying to get a few more opened in the next few days and leading up to Christmas with time off and things like that. I should be able to open a few more up on a more regular basis and try and clear out the backlog of things I have here. One of the things I've got, which I'm going to open up tonight, is Zombicide. This is one, Cool Mini or Not, ran it through a Kickstarter last year, I believe, early last year, late the year before, just when board games were really starting to pick up. So this was one of the initial Kickstarters that really got a lot of attention for board games when Kickstarter itself started coming into popularity. Distributed through Cool Mini or Not and done by Guillotine Games. A lot of people have probably opened this in the past, but I haven't opened up my copy yet, so I figured I should. This is a bit upsetting I haven't opened up yet because I picked this up from Sydney in the Toy and Hobby Expo from the GamesCube stall, and that was back in May, I believe, and it's now December, and I've yet to actually crack it out of the shrink wrap and open it up. So this is one of those ones for everyone that keeps saying to me, have you opened Zombicide yet? And I say, no, I haven't. Now I get to open it and say, yes, I have. So it's a giant box. If you haven't seen it before, it weighs a huge amount. The entire table's shaking when I try and do that. And yeah, it's pretty hefty, pretty chunky thing. So at the back there, all the contents. You've got your board tiles, your miniatures. Basically, if you haven't heard of Zombicide yet, it's a game of running around and fighting off in a group the zombie apocalypse. Players will die, players will get shot by their teammates, and you'll just fight hordes and hordes of nasty zombies. It is actually a pretty fun game. I've played my friend's copy a few times, and it's just one of those ones. It'll satisfy the tactical thinkers for RPGs and things like that, because it's got scenarios and things like that. But if you're new to board games, it's something you can come into just to run through a different kind of board game. It's not really dependent on specific, everything is roll to move, roll to hit, roll to react, things like that. There is a lot of card-driven mechanic in it. You can pick up items, customise your characters. Anyone who's seen the Kickstarter copy will know that not only did you get the initial 6 or so characters that come in this, you got a whole plethora of extra zombies. I think there was an entire, or twice the amount you end up getting in this, and a bunch of different characters. You could buy even more characters to add on. You got different scenarios. Guillotine Games actually publishes new scenarios on their website, so while this cost me a decent amount for a board game, a bit more than I usually do, it's not something where you buy it and whatever's in the box is what you're stuck with, and not a case of if you don't like it, that's it, because generally if you're going to buy a game called Zombicide, you know what you're getting into. If you don't like the zombie genre, you're probably not going to buy it in the first place. But if you find out that you've played all the scenarios a few times and you're starting to get a bit bored, there's a free way to expand it. You go onto their website, you look up new scenarios, things like that. So I'll open it up now. So hooray, the shrink wrap's off. I can now say I've opened Zombicide. So I'll crack it open just to see how everything's laid out in there. So first thing, the rulebook in there. That will go through and give you, it's got the different scenarios in there. So as you can see there, contents, how to play the game, how to set it up, and it's got a few definitions. It's a pretty well laid out rulebook, and there's some nice artwork in there, which was kind of what they wanted for the initial Kickstarter, I believe, to get that artwork out there, because it's a bit different to some of the other games. It's more of a cartoony look to zombies without it actually seeming stupid at the same time. So it goes through a few of the characters, how to set up your equipment, things like that, and I believe at the back you start running into scenarios. So basically how the game works, we'll get to it in a moment, but there are map tiles in there, different configurations give you a different city, you've got different objectives on there, and you can run around. You've got zombies appearing from the board edges and things like that, so they spawn on and you've got to fight them off long enough to achieve the objective. So, and you've even got a turn summary on the back there, which is always good, because in games like this, especially on the first turn, you're usually skipping, or the first time you play, you usually end up skipping things you weren't aware of and things like that. So a turn summary in any game is always a good idea, and on the back of a book, always useful. And at the same time, that's something that it would copy up easily and just throw a few more copies in there for reference for everyone. So these are some of the counters. Now, from what I've seen before, these are the ammunition markers, I believe, or their entry points, something like that. These are noise markers, so the zombies are attracted to noise on the table. So if you get someone jumping and hollering and shooting guns and things like that, that's going to draw their attention, just like in the movies, and they'll come running towards that player. In some ways, that is something you can use to a tactical advantage. If you want them at one side of the board, you can have a bunch of players hooping and hollering and firing off shots, things like that, while somebody else sneaks around and achieves some other little objective in the background. You've also got a bit of terrain for the scenarios, like the police cars, things like that, the zombie entry points and the exit points for your guys. And they also flip over. They've got some alternate art on the back. So the pimp car, I guess you'd call it does say pimp on it. Possibly you could have a few of those and a police car on the table, who knows, depends on the scenario. The box itself, once you get past that, is pretty securely laid out in here. You've got a giant deck of zombie cards, and what these will actually do, these will specify how the zombies come onto the field. So you'll notice there's blue, yellow, orange and red levels. Let me try that again. Blue, yellow, orange, red, because being 12 feet or so away from the camera doesn't really help that. And as your characters progress through the game, they'll get experience, level up, and what will end up happening at the beginning of the game, you'll flip over one of these cards. If no one's got any experience, you're on the blue. And for something like that, where it says 0, no new monsters, no new zombies come in, but you've got things like 1 or 2 where you'll get a few zombies. Problem being that as you get further into the game and you kill more zombies and get more experience, you start using the higher colours on there, depending on who's got the most experience. So if everybody's running around and have killed no zombies and they're all on the blue area of experience, but some fantastic warrior has got up there and they're in the red level of experience, unfortunately that means they're going to be dragging a bunch of zombies onto the table every turn with you, and your blue players are going to have to start catching up so that they can keep up. And there's an awful lot of cards for them. So, not that you will need every single one of those in the game, but that's just a different amount of variation, things like that. Also in there we've got some weapons, so things like frying pans, fire axes, katanas, submachine guns, rifles, flashlights, just the general things you want to beat off a zombie apocalypse with. Again, a bunch of those, you use those to customise your characters during the game, so you can arm them up and you can get them going from unarmed to a rifle or a submachine gun, just to help kill some more zombies and keep them out of your way for long enough to survive. And I'll just scoop these out of the way so that we can actually look a bit more into it. Drag this out. There's some dice in there, 6 just standard dice, there's nothing really special about that. They're not custom or anything like that. The Kickstarter came with some custom dice, I believe, and you could also buy more sets, customise the game up. There's some little pegs in there, they actually clip onto your character's equipment card or character cards as you play through the game, and they've got a little arrow on there so that you can actually note as the game goes along, you're killing more zombies, your experience is going up, things like that. Now these cardboard ones should be where the fun miniatures are, and having seen the miniatures before, I do actually like the sculpts that they did for this, the specific characters they did for some of the Kickstarter programs where they were based on pop culture heroes, things like that. They did turn out very nice, but these are also good. You've got your dual-wielding machine gun hero, your roller skate, chainsaw-wielding waitress, the abomination zombie over here, big ugly guy that comes out and beats things around, and you've just got characters that no one's really uncool in this. They're all the stereotypical why on earth is that person in the zombie apocalypse character, but at the same time they're the kind of person that was probably sitting at home waiting for the zombie apocalypse to happen just so that they could come out and show everyone how cool they are. Having said that, can't have a zombie apocalypse without scores and scores of zombies, and this game actually comes with 2 trays worth of them. So what you've got here are a bunch of different zombies for the game. You've got giant fat zombies, you've got runners, you've got walkers, you've got a mix of male and female in there, so you've got a bit of variation. They are similar sculpts over and over and over again. Having said that, there's enough variation between the male and the female to just make it not look like an identical horde of copy-pasted zombies rolling across the table. As well, when you start getting a few of these out and you get runners turning up in there, things like that, they do perform different actions. Things like the abomination have to be taken down quickly because once they get to you, they'll kill you, but they do last a while. The big guys last a while as well. Runners will sprint across the table at you, where the generic zombies will just shamble towards you slowly, as is the trope. And I'll get into this one, but I believe that's the same tray there. Just duplicate it out. So 2 trays come through, and they're pretty good miniatures. They're not things that people would probably... I mean, I do come into board gaming from a miniature wargaming and more recently from that miniature painting background, and they're not things that you'd probably look at and go, I really want to paint this up, that looks like a fantastic model, I can really do some special things with it. But I've seen them painted up really nicely, and I've seen hordes of them painted up very nicely through Cool Mini or Not and things like that. And at the same time, they're just fun models. They look like they would paint up reasonably well and just get a good effect as a stock standard army churn out paint job. In amongst the bottom here is a shrink wrap package. Hopefully I can get this out. So this is where a lot of the weight of that game comes from. A bunch of board tiles, big solid things, and your character cards. So I'll zoom that over there for now. And just get this one open. So what's going to be in here are your actual character cards for those coloured characters that I had out at the beginning, and also the map tiles, so I'll get to those in a minute. Basically the way this works is you've got a bunch of map tiles with different zones and things in them. You can see there have been like blood splatters and things have definitely gone wrong in this area, and this is the area you're going to be fighting in. Each game plays out, they're all double-sided tiles, and you'll actually lay out a board so that they connect in specific areas. So you'll see 5B, 7B, things like that. The scenario will lay out a map saying these tiles are used, this is how you arrange them, and you'll usually be told get into this area through a door that's here or something like that, and you must, I don't know, kill an abomination in the process or call for help from this area. Some of them as well have the nice little add-on things like not all of the survivors must make it to the end of the game. So it is possible, because it's a cooperative board game, for a group of players to get around and fight against the board game itself. There's no GM or anything like that. It's fun for people to be able to sit around, but at the same time you're going to have to admit that sometimes your character needs to be sacrificed for the greater good so that everybody else can get out of there alive. So just flick through some of those, have a look. Some of them, they've got nice little details, biohazard signs, things like that, and you'll get into certain areas, be able to dig up, who knows, fire axes or a bag of rice. Whatever you don't need when you need it is usually the case, as most things go. Or sometimes you'll end up with a bunch of submachine guns and you'll be roaring around the place, destroying every zombie that looks at you funny, which is what most of them do. The other ones I've got here, most securely packaged character cards I've seen in a while. These are all the character cards for the different characters that come in the game. So basically you all pick one, you'll probably get a few different options, so depending on who you pick, There's Phil the cop, he starts with a pistol. Doug has a matching set, so I'm pretty sure if you pick up one weapon, he'll come in with another one, things like that. I'll shift them up here a bit so we can see. Wanda is on roller skates. She can move two squares per turn, or 2 zones per turn. And you've just got a few different things. So not all of the characters are identical characters that run the same way and you're all going to feel like you're playing the same character. They do actually have a lot of, you would say the characters are pretty rounded in the sense of it's a board game, you're going to play it for a few hours and then forget about it until the next time you play. You don't need a huge character arc, but you're not all going to be standing around thinking my character does what everybody else does, and the reason I'm the one that kills stuff is because I'm the one with the chainsaw or the machine gun or the Molotov cocktail. So you will get things there as you progress through. The more zombies you kill, your heart rate increases, your adrenaline rises, and you'll also get different skills. So in the blue area he starts with a pistol, but when you get into the yellow area with a bit of experience, you start getting more actions. Then you get free search actions and you can get to be a better shot. Then when you get up into the red here, you get a bunch of actions. Problem being, as I said earlier, the higher the experience of a player is in the game, the higher the tracking card you're going to use is going to be. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to get the blue areas coming up, and the further, if say Phil here was the one that drags the experience up and takes over the zombie killing while everybody's doing whatever they need to do to get out of there alive or finish the scenario, he might be dragging more and more zombies as he kills more. It just increases the horde's number as they come in. Quality wise, those cards are pretty nice. They seem to, I don't know if they're plastic coated or they're just a specific finish, but they seem pretty hardy. These ones, again, slightly thin, but they're not going to be too rough. The only thing you probably need to be concerned about if you worry about the longevity is the edge up here with the markers on there, but there's always ways around that. And the plastic markers themselves that you clip on to track the wounds, they don't really damage the page too much. I'll grab some of those out and show you. Like I said with the miniatures, they're pretty good quality. They could paint up well, but there's no need to really paint them up if you're not inclined to paint or anything like that. I'm certainly looking at these not thinking I need to paint these up, so there you go. As it clips on, you can just boost your experiences up as you start mowing down zombies. So that's the contents of Zombicide. I will try and play it in the next few weeks. I've got a few people that do want to play it with me, and I'll probably end up taking it into work over the break while we're slowed down a bit and running through a few people through it there just to see what they think of it. And I'll probably do a board review video or something like that after I've played it, running through things, or I'll put something up on my blog and just run through how the games went with new players, things like that. So that's been Zombicide. Thanks for watching.